Everyone. Hello, Lori. Hello, Laura. Hello, Camille.
All right, we're live.
Welcome, everyone, to what's going to be an amazing panel we have now, very informative. We're going to have some experts on the topic of Ascension, especially what's happening now, Ascension 2021, the time of planetary awakening. And you may remember there was a lot of predictions that came out in 2020 that 2020 was going to be an activated year for the Ascension. And little did we know what that meant. We can reflect on the extraordinary times that we've been through a lens that can maybe see a lot of chaos, a lot of extreme challenge, a lot of destruction. But if we open the lens a bit wider, we can see that this process is more like a birth canal. It's really that we're going through a whole process globally of humanity, of an awakening process. And the birth canal and what we're going through is kind of like a dark night of the soul, a health crisis for humanity, as all the stuff that is not in the higher frequency that we are here to go towards comes up to the surface to be healed and revealed. And I have with us today 6 Ascension teachers and experts who are going to be able to share with you what's really going on in this process. And what we can say is it's sparked a shift in all of humanity. We can call it, again, a spiritual dark night of the soul, as when the cauldron cooks and burns out the darker forces and allows us to go up to the next frequency. Also, more than ever, there's more support for this process in humanity for the higher forces. And a lot of these ascension guides work directly with the angelic realms, with the ascended masters, and all those that are really here right now to work with us. This is not only humanity's ascension that we're going through, but it is Gaia's ascension. It is the planet's ascension. It is the planetary ascension, all of us going forward now. So a lot of these beautiful people I have worked with personally, and that's why I selected them to be on the panel. And we are going to dive into a very deep dive around the ascension process that's specifically happening now. I'm so happy to have Lori Spagna on the panel, Laura Eisenhower, Asil Toksal, the Stargate with Pragit and Julianne, and Camille Moritz. And they're going to be able to share with us their perspective. They're all coming from very different perspectives. The Ascension panel is something that was really close to my heart. I've been sharing this panel for about 8 years at various places like Conscious Life Expo, New Living Expo, and on Portal to Ascension. And it's really great because we can go really deep into a lot of what's going on now, what we're all experiencing, and how we can really see this incredible process that the world is going through in a whole different way. So I'd like to introduce them now and start with a question that they can share more personally. So I would love you all to share your personal experience around what we're calling the Ascension process, the activated spiritual awakening that's happening on the planet now. Possibly share your basis of expertise, your personal experience, your research, and what you think is really going on in the planet now. The Ascension process has been around, but it seems like it's highly activated at this time. This is really what I call showtime. You know, the time that so many of us came to the planet now for our own spiritual activations and awakening towards the Ascension, and your personal experience of it. So I'd love to start with Lori Spagna. I've known Lori for quite a few years here and have invited her to a lot of my panels. I deeply respect her as an ascension guide, way shower, an author, a teacher, and she assists others in their alignment to the true divine source. And she works directly with ascended masters and guides where she gets a lot of her information. I've been with her a lot in her transmissions. She not only transmits wisdom, but the frequency that the masters and guides are sharing with us now, which is a big part of what's happening as well. She's also well known for her facilitation of deep and intimate animal-human connection. So she has many, many talents. So Lori, I'd like you to share what you think is going on with the planet now. What is this extraordinary time we're in? And your realization, your understanding of the ascension process.
Well, first, thanks for having me, and thanks to Neil, of course, and everyone who's here. I'm grateful and glad to be here. So I'll just jump in because I think none of us are. I think if you're here, in this tribe, you're not new to this concept of ascension, and I think one of the most important things that I can contribute that's maybe perhaps new and upgraded on this or progressive on this is that we're now entering a phase where we don't have to bring anything zero from past into future, so-called linear time. So this next phase of ascension is a complete dismantling of all things that are no longer beneficial for us, no longer aligned with service to the greater good of all, with zero harm. And I think that we're looking at as a collective, what is it that we choose to bring forward? And that includes all of our beliefs and concepts, our perspectives, our ideologies, even old systems and structures of dogma, of religion, all of our ideologies, even things like astrology, numerology, all that old stuff, we get to redecide as creators of our future, what we'll be bringing into our future, what we'll be creating for our future. And I think one of the key things that we can all start realizing and recognizing ourselves as creators of not only our individual reality from the inside out, but also of our collective reality, and to be mindful of where we may be miscreating. I call it miscreating, creating things that we don't choose or desire consciously, or that we don't actually find to be for our most benevolent good. And that's a dividing line now in this new paradigm where we get to say we take 100% responsibility from the inside, energetically, consciously, unconsciously, what's known to us, what's unknown. And where now we get to access information from the non-physical that we just never knew before, that was not even available to us before, that perhaps does not exist in any book. Maybe, of course, it exists in the records and the non-physical, but not anything we could learn in our physical reality. So we get to take all new from our non-physical and bring it into our physical for our positive upliftment, for our 100% positive upliftment for all beings. And I think that's the next phase we're entering into. It's kind of like a resurrection of humanity with the destruction of the old that's no longer serving us, and the creation or resurrection of the new, in a conscious way, in a deliberate way, so we're not miscreating. I think that's the phase of ascension we're entering into now. And we have lots of beings from the non-physical to support and assist, guide, and lead. And then, of course, as we align with our own God sovereign creator role, our divinity, and our vibrational alignment with the truth of who we are, which is, pure awareness, pure love, pure joy, pure the purity of our beingness, and the essence of ourselves as innocent at the same time. I think that's where we're going. So I don't know. I hope that's a good, starting point for us.
Definitely. I think we can all relate to that because we're all going through changes within ourselves, and we're all opening up to new levels of awareness, intuition, and access to new information. I know I'm experiencing that myself. If I just open, all of a sudden there's a knowing that comes in, and all of a sudden I've kind of achieved another level of awareness. So I think that's part of what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori. Now I'd like to introduce Pragit and Julianne. They're part of the Stargate experience. Pragit is an internationally known channel for over 30 years. He's worked with Alcazar, who is a multidimensional group that facilitates interdimensional doorway healing, DNA activation, and the awareness of one's quantum self. And Julianne joined the Stargate project in 2012 and has become a partner of the Stargate and discovered a profound connection. And together they've been working, putting the Stargate all over the world. They've been world travelers, and they have a following of thousands and thousands of people all over the world. And the Stargate is really a tool for the ascension. It's actual physical device that generates this multidimensional energy. I've been with them a lot in their groups, and it's one of the most strongest ascension tools that I've experienced, and I really appreciate. And they're based up in Mount Shasta. So, and when I'm with them, it's all about ascension teachings from all levels. So I'm so happy to have them with us today, and welcome Julianne and Prageet.
Thanks, Deborah.
It's great to be with you all. Thank you so much. So you can see the Stargate behind us, or one of the many that are around the world. And the Stargate is an anchor for a higher dimensional consciousness. And it's that consciousness that's supporting, through the Stargate work, this ascension process, both for individuals. And as we all know, as we individually change, we're creating change for humanity. There's so many different aspects to ascension. And Alcazar describes ascension as not trying to escape this place, as people used to think, but it's more about bringing the real self into the human body. Alcazar talks us as about being a superconscious being, that we are far more than the physical body, as most of you already accept. And that superconscious being is assisting the human part in raising our vibration so that more of that consciousness of the real you can be in the physical body. And in this way, we become far more able to create in this reality the changes that we wish to create. And much of that in our line of work recently is about health and wellness, bringing people's vibration back into balance on all levels. And so, as Laurie already mentioned, it's about dissolving the old and dissolving old emotional and patterns that have been holding us back, belief systems that we've held on rigidly to, that we're beginning to realize aren't our truth, actually. And so this is an area that we're working with, and that Julianne and I, as Deborah said, we've been traveling the world. Even now we're doing it, and touching thousands of people in this incredible energetic. And what we find is, as the field gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and that is facilitated by the many masters, the angelic realm, as we create this field, and as people simply relax and meditate in it, the vibration of the masters, the vibrations of the angels, this enlightened vibration actually starts to realign people. And so very amazing things happen in this process.
And our guide has been very clear, like Ascension in 2021 is very different than any other era on the earth. This is about the collective now. It's no longer just about individuals charging forward and becoming enlightened. And so our guide Alcazar has actually said that there's a certain level of patience that's needed right now, because we're moving to a certain level, like we're taking a jump and then we'll plateau for a while so that that vibration can be shared with the collective. And also, because of this focus on the mass awakening, more than ever, as we come together in groups, the potential energy of each individual pulling in energy from spirit, super consciousness, higher states of being. It's like we catch these waves and we all move further, faster together.
The ascension process is not something that's new. It's been happening throughout our lifetimes. And Alcazar's described it as we've been going like this, and now we've started to go like this, and next year we're going to be rapidly moving through challenging situations, which are both difficult and also wondrous, because even though we look in the world and we see what's happening out there on the surface, I think we're all beginning to realize that underneath, so many people, so many groups around the world are becoming empowered, are reacting to the old because it's very, very obvious, it's very, very visible. And this is creating in thousands, tens of thousands of people around the world, the reaction to, hey, we want to live in love. We want to live in equality. And that's the intention that starts to elevate our individual vibration and carry us along this path to ascension. So thank you, Deborah.
Thank you both. And yes, these times, some of the lemonade it's really brought the world together. There are so many people connecting on a massive level and affirming, just like we're doing right now with this conference. And the COVID has showed us we are all one, we are all connected. Instead of thinking we're in a separate country, in a separate box, in a separate home, we are all very connected. So really important to hear, this is a global ascension now for all of humanity. And everyone's being lifted up together. So that's really beautiful. Thank you. So now I'd love to introduce Camille Moritz. She is a revelator of light, a spiritual intuitive. She's a reader and healer. She channels the Divine Mother, and she works with an in-depth transformational system of divine revelation. She is here for sure for the ascension of Mother Earth, and as in the organic timeline. And she teaches ascension skills, spiritual and psychic development, and she does personal sessions. I've experienced her a lot in personal work, and she is one of, for me, one of the top ascension guides that could get in there with the tool chest and work on those places that I can't get to and really bring them into my awareness to heal and move up to the next level. So I really appreciate her. Camille, thank you so much for joining us, and share your perspective of ascension during these radical, amazing times.
Thank you for inviting me, Deborah. I'm happy to be here and share some information that Spirit has through me today. I seem to represent the Karmic Board of Record Keepers, and Divine Mother downloaded a multidimensional healing process that looks at the soul's records for past, present, and future lifetimes, human and non-human lifetimes, and easily sees the unconscious energy that would block our current intention or our goal to fulfill our soul's purpose. And in my perspective, this is the time of the apocalypse, which is really a Greek word that means the unveiling of divine truth. And I've known all my life that this was what I was here for. And in fact, I think that most humans on the planet in the now are here at some level because they bring forward a piece of the wisdom and some of the codes and information and energy that allows the collective consciousness to ascend. I 100% work for the one ascension of Mother Earth, and I like to call that the organic ascension timeline. In that awareness, I've become very aware of the negative alien agenda and the energetics that keep humans stuck, as well as the karmic patterns. And karma is something that repeats itself as a pattern over and over. So in this process of becoming light, ascension is a process, not a goal. And it is also a descension process, because the light is continually entering into the body and flowing through the body. And wherever we have an unconscious memory, that information that is held in the cellular level of our body, our DNA, which is also called the Akashic records, the soul's records, will blow up in our outer life and manifest in physical form what it is. Therefore, it is very important that we become conscious of every thought form we have, every emotion we have, and every feeling we have, because humans are 100% karmically responsible for every thought form, feeling, and every word they speak, every thought they have, and every feeling they have. I like to teach deliberate conscious intent. The idea that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we have the power to choose, and we can choose a high frequency or we can choose a low frequency. We can choose to show up for our highest self, our highest good, or we can choose not to. And if we don't choose to show up for our highest good, then we can be bound to that at a karmic level. We're really working with critical mass consciousness at this time. All are one and one are all. So when we say yes to our God knowing in our own heart, our own higher self knowing, because the Sacred Heart is the Ascension temple and the place where we can move into the coherent field of one, which is 0 point. So when we say yes to our knowing in our heart, we are saying yes to the one ascension of Mother Earth and the one ascension of the collective consciousness of humanity. And we do need a 52% around there, critical mass consciousness of individuals choosing to vibrate at a higher level and show up in those frequencies of unconditional love, forgiveness, and transcendence of the polarized energies. People talk to me about the apocalypse idea and the judgment day, and I really believe that when we judge something, we're bound to it karmically, and that the judgments we've made in previous incarnations and other places will often sit in our cellular soul records. And if they're sitting in our soul records, they will manifest what they are in physical form. Therefore, it's very important for us to release judgment and condemnation of ourselves and others, and to proclaim what we would like to experience there. Because when we recognize a karmic pattern, all we have to do is acknowledge it, ask it to be transmuted, and then choose another reality and thank our higher self for bringing it into form. So we have to be the directors of our life and the directors of our energy. Humans' power is inherent. We don't have to do anything. We're already creating every single thing we think, say, and do. And I think of the one ascension of Mother Earth as the spiritualization of matter, where we're restoring the sacred white fire center to every molecule of the universe, because every molecule in the physical form is matter, and matter is mother, and everything matters. So as we begin to release contracts and agreements, clear and transmute energies that don't longer serve us, and choose our new realities, thanking our higher selves for bringing them into form, we can continue to elevate ourselves, increase our frequency, and be on our path. In addition to this, we need to practice freedom and sovereignty every day and be in our own column of light. Wrapping all of this up, every human is intended to be an ascended master in human form, and we're all in the process of gaining our own mastery. So it becomes very important to be conscious of our thought forms, our emotions, and our experiences, and always choose that which serves the highest good in the moment of ourselves and of all beings. And when we don't know how, just open the door to the possibility and thank our higher self for showing it to us.
Beautiful. Thank you, Camille.
Thank you.
Yes, incredible information always, very in-depth. Thank you. And now we get to go to Laura Eisenhower, who's an extremely passionate light worker, undying, always on the trail. She's an expert in exopolitics and alchemy and metaphysics and ancient history. She also has degrees in science, wilderness expedition, natural healing. She's a whistleblower, and she's been speaking out about being recruited to a colony on Mars. And that represented a timeline that she did not choose to go with. And she's been able to uncover a lot of unnecessary truths and agendas that humanity is being kept in the dark about. And she lectures all over the globe. She also provides clairvoyant readings and healings, and has a lot of energy and fire for the ascension of the planet now. So Laura, so great to have you with us. Give us your perspective on what is going on now.
Wow, thank you so much, Deborah. It's really great to be with all of you. I loved hearing what everyone has said. And I don't really know what more to add, but I'll give it a shot here. My readings have changed. So the bio might need to be updated. I don't do clairvoyant readings anymore. I used to, and that's still a part of me. But I do astrology readings. And anyway, that's, I'll talk a little bit more about those kind of updates in my lecture. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's not a question about whether or not ascension is happening, because it's an earth and cosmic event. It's encoded in our DNA. It's encoded in nature and in the planetary alignments that we're experiencing. And so it's definitely happening. Question is, are we in alignment with it? Are we preparing our vessels? Are we doing what's necessary in order to be able to embody these ascension energies? And in order to do that, we have to undo a lot. We have to let go of what we thought might have been a reality that is more an illusion, more a construct, more a simulation, or like based in something that's infected our creative channels with belief systems or a concept that isn't necessarily true to ourselves, that we end up attaching to and then enabling and manifesting, because literally it's using us to enable itself when we're dealing with artificial timelines and anything that could take us down a trajectory that we don't want to see. But it's all temporary because of the power of transformation and awakening and healing. And so in these times, it's very interesting because we're definitely being challenged at this stage in the game. Definitely what everybody was saying, I so right on. And what I talk about a lot, which you introduced us with, Deborah, has a lot to do with the dark night of the soul. The aspects that we experienced in 2020 was the conjunction of Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. And this Pluto square Eris, which is an asteroid, which has the archetypal nature of power, strife and conflict. Eris, the goddess of strife and conflict, has been making a square, which is friction, challenge, a squared aspect with Pluto. So this transformation cycle has been very challenging for certain individuals. It's always challenging, period, but how we handle the challenge is where our energies end up going. So if we allow fear or our choices to be based in fear or lower frequency energies, we very much get stunted in the birth canal, as you were talking about the birth canal, Deborah. And if we're stunted in the birth canal, that stagnation is incredibly unhealthy until we create a breakthrough. The level of assaults that we're dealing with are really, really strong right now, but we've always been dealing with weaponry and assaults. So it's about becoming senior to these lower forces, and we can only become senior to them or overcome them if we face them and we don't deny them, and we do what's necessary to override them with the override frequency, the mother energy, the mother arc energy. And this ascension window period, because of the presence of the 13th sign of Fiacus and what that represents, it's a stronger window period for us to be able to deprogram, awaken, and purify and heal the nucleic acids of our DNA so we can begin to upgrade and turn that junk into something else, because it's really a treasure and it holds all the different levels of sacred union within our own being. And that connects into the electromagnetic energies. We're gaining greater exposure to those energies, but there's a part of all this that is not going away unless we overcome it, that is weaponized at all. And it's up to us to win the war within ourselves in order to not be played anymore or deceived. So for example, 5G represents electromagnetic radiation, and being linked into it is acting as a battery that charges up the artificial timelines as an end games sort of picture that is almost like a haunted dreamscape that we're participating in without realizing it. And we become more victimized to it, which we don't have to be. And it really stems from social engineering and being encouraged to make choices from fear and, divide and conquer kind of stuff. Makes it very, very hard to overcome it. It siphons and harvests our energy. And 5D ascension, though, is beyond all that. And it's the electromagnetic signals we create and attract based in what's organic. And what's organic and how we can connect to what's organic requires us being connected with the truth frequency, which I'll be doing a lecture about today. And living in our truth isn't about facts. It's about being true to ourselves and living our truth. And so epigenetics goes into how this supports our ability to advance ourselves. But epigenetics is also subject to our belief systems being overly attached to false narratives, false news, and false information that is very hijacking. So we're being pushed to the edge to have the ultimate breakthrough. And as we're able to do that as individuals, we bring something very important into the collective. And And that's what's so important, because really the growth of pathogens and the replication of something nefarious or dark within our own being requires the loss of our minds and our ability to be true to ourselves and connected to the truth frequency. It requires that to really, really take us down. So this particular window period, I'm going to close up here, is so powerful because the corrections to the planetary grid network and the fact that the 13th sign is helping us to connect with ether energy and the presence of the mother arc, which is now grounded back into the physical planet, this is happening. So the most important thing we can do is not allow ourselves to get distracted, to see fear as an initiation to help us to reclaim our treasures, and to see adversity as an opportunity to reclaim our treasures instead of get further enslaved and further enmeshed in this control matrix and system that is using us to create something we don't need to participate in. And it's kind of what the times we're in is all about right now. And I do feel that the collective consciousness and the greater energies out there, if it stays aligned with this, is going to cause a backfiring of the weapons used against us, because it's going to raise the frequency of even the weapons, because the weapons are only weapons as long as we allow it to hook in and steal from us. When we allow them to be tools for our greater growth and reminders of our greater awakening, all of a sudden we nullify the weapons and it becomes a weapon against them and they lose their food source. And we can help each other overcome this if we can just avoid the programming and the divide and conquer and unify in the most amazing way. And to me, this is the most important part of the growth period that we're experiencing in humanity.
Thank you, Laura, for your amazing perspective and your astrological feedback as well, too, that supports what's going on here. Appreciate it. And now I'm so happy to introduce Asil Toksal, Ascension One Collective. Asil is an Austrian-born channel and healer. His work includes group energy alignment sessions and channelings of the celestial angelic guides. And he's traveled the world widely, United States, Europe, and Asia, and is very committed to the spiritual path of training a variety of different energy healing modalities. And about 5 years ago, he started to channel the angelic guides, which he works with today. I've experienced him many times, and I was very pleased to go to a workshop that Asil and the Stargate did in Costa Rica that was accelerating ascension. Very, very powerful. One of the most powerful things. They had thousands of people joining from all over the world in this joined workshop that they gave towards accelerating ascension. Really beautiful. And so I'm so happy to have him with us. Asil, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Deborah, and hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. It's a great time to be alive. Now, despite all the challenges and the turmoil that we see in the world, it is truly a blessing to be alive in this most significant and most transformative time in human existence. Now, probably other people have said that in the history of humanity, or maybe in previous iterations of humanity, they thought, oh, this is the time. But I have a feeling that this time is the real time. So who knows? What I get as information from the guides that I work with, which is Emmanuel, Raphael, Michael, and most predominantly Elohim, is that the ascension process of humanity was a period of time that was embedded before the seeding of humanity to uplift humanity from the material presence that we have as human existence into a non-material form of existence. And it's basically all dependent on the maturity of our consciousness as human collective. It seems that we have come close to that maturity of consciousness. At the same time, we've come very close to destroying ourselves and a lot of other beings on this planet. So which of these timelines prevail depends really on how dedicated and devoted we are to this ascension process. How quickly can we as humans evolve as with our consciousness? How quickly can our emotions, thoughts, and our actions evolve in order to preserve this planet so that we can complete the ascension process that is right before us? The ascension process, as many of you have already mentioned, has started and is well underway. Through this ascension process, there are some interesting things happening. One is, it seems that the gates to heaven, as the guides very often communicate, have opened or reopened, meaning we are getting a lot of communication and support from higher realms of existence. That could be ascended masters, but it could also be galactic families. So there is a lot of interest in supporting humanity. And of course, there is also interest in challenging humanity. It seems like there's other places that are not so interested in our full evolution. Nonetheless, I'll stay on the positive side of things. The rising energies that we are experiencing on this plane have a great deal to do with cosmological changes that are entering our plane. And as the energies are rising on this plane, some interesting things will happen. We will start to have abilities again to reach with our consciousness much higher planes of existence. The veil between the material and the non-material planes is thinning. So communication, contact is going to increase. Now, those of us that are very deeply grounded and rooted in this three-dimensional world will have a challenge in the face of these rising energies. This is also why we're experiencing this great polarity that's stretching humanity as a consciousness, as a collective, into two polarized sides. And I think this polarization will continue for a while. Now, the guides deliver support for us to become even more evolved as individuals, to reach our greatest potential, to activate templates within us, which they call the Ascension templates, so that we can make benefit from the energies that are entering this earthly plane, the energies that are increasing, so that we can ride the wave of these energies rather than be shaken around by these energies. Now, I'll just leave it at that. There is so much more to talk about, and this is an incredible panel to be sharing this information with and sharing this with this collective with. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Asil. So clear and so perceptive. Really appreciate your teaching so much. Yes, this is a really experienced audience here. The people that are listening are not newbies. And I'd love for us to go as deep as the panel wants to go with high-level information. And so the next level, I invite you to go to the next level that you can share on personal ascension. And some of the topics I might suggest, and you can also choose whatever topics is coming through you that you feel to go to, but really go to the next level of what we should know. Seems to me one topic that's very important is to be very aware of one's frequency, to be energetically tuned in, and the phrase of raising one's frequency to another level. That is a big part of ascension, and possibly sharing with us what's really necessary to continue to raise one's frequency to the next levels. And it seems to me another topic would be self-mastery. This is one thing that we're talking about, is we're talking about healing what does not serve, which keeps us at the lower levels, and going to another level of mastery, becoming ascended masters on a certain level is what we're talking about. And what really does that mean in this day and age? So that may be a topic you might want to share. Another really important subject is heart-centered living. It seems like love is the frequency of the ascension process. That's really what we're going towards. That really, in a lot of the teachings, what we're being asked to hold as the frequency that we're coming to live in. And so I'd love to know and understand that part of it. And another topic you might be able to talk about, and choose anything where you feel like you want to go, is manifestation. That seems to be another level of what we're moving towards, is being able to really manifest in the moment, and how that really works, and how that's part of the ascension process. It may at times look like synchronicity, because sometimes you're thinking of something and then it shows up and you call it synchronicity, but it's really a part of the manifestation process, the creative process that the new human, the new divine human is developing and that we're working with. Or take another topic and go really deep and expanded, whatever spirit is calling for you to share with this very advanced group that we're here now at the Portal to Ascension conference. So I'll go back to Lori, who I deeply appreciate as an Ascension teacher. And Lori, what do you feel called to share about the next level of ascension happening now?
Well, along those lines, I would love to share about the experience of the depolarization that is required now. That is really what we're looking at, especially as what I call this third wave of humanity. The people who are more unconscious generally aren't necessarily immediately gravitated toward this spiritual awakening process or ascension process, right? So as the third wave is coming online, which really began when we reached critical mass, in my opinion, that's how I see it, in 2020, which is the big, wake up call. Like, how does source consciousness wake up the most number of people on Earth with the least amount of jolt? And I mean, you could see how COVID could be one of those ways. So the experience of polarity is what we're having to navigate right now. And that includes everywhere we project anything onto our external reality that we perceive to be separate from us. In other words, even that what we perceive to be a spiritual war or warfare upon us, or this dark agenda or the negative alien agenda, because that's the game of polarity that keeps polarity vibrant and alive. That's what strengthens the so-called opposition. Every time we polarize something, every time we make anything in the external world good or bad, or even shadow or light, and that game of polarity, which is being intensified for us on the world stage, it's how we project ourselves. And part of the reason why this has happened, at least in my opinion, is that up until 2020, we were doing a lot of carpet sweeping, what I call carpet sweeping. It was all like law of attraction, all positivity all the time. No one, a lot of, even in the Lightworker movement, we didn't want to face our shadow aspects. We didn't want to own our shadow aspects. We didn't necessarily all want to take responsibility for that. We were just like all law of attraction, love and light, positivity. And what that does is that just forces the shadow up into the surface, into our face. And then if we're busy projecting that onto a negative alien agenda or false leaders or a hierarchical oligarchical system that we have, and the representatives, whether it's a political leader or anyone, a religious leader, anyone on negative alien, doesn't matter, that is how we're perpetuating the story of polarity, and actually infusing polarity and that extreme right and wrong and dark and light. And that's what we're trying to come out of now. So one of the most advanced tools that's really does challenge us is to begin to realize that anything that we project onto another or the world stage, what we perceive in the external around us is actually an aspect of our own shadow consciousness that's coming from within. And this is not so easy, right? Because it's so much easier to place that shadow aspect onto another external being or authority, situation, circumstance. And so this is like the new role of the light worker, is not even so new, is to take responsibility for that and to recognize that there is nothing in the external world, nothing that was not created through awareness and consciousness first. In other words, in the internal world, it's created from the internal world first. And a huge part of that role isn't about making anyone or anything wrong. It's about coming into the divine neutral, the sacred neutrality. And even from, the still point within where we regenerate or rebirth that divine acceptance, divine neutrality, divine love, inner harmony. One of the things that has come through so much from all of the guidance, whether I'm connecting with beings, star family races, if I'm channeling them, or ascended masters or angelics or beings who have crossed over, who are, whether it's masters we've known in physical form, Einstein, like all of them who are guiding us from non-physical and providing insight, is what they're saying is that we must come into harmony with all that is, regardless of whether we don't have to like it, but we have to be in harmony, because that's what neutralizes this polarized experience we're having. And through that inner harmony that then we cultivate from within, and then we project that onto the external world, that's where we're going to find that this extremism of shadow and light comes into balance, divine neutrality. One last piece I just want to sort of overemphasize a little bit more on this is that this whole concept that something in the external world is the creation force. In other words, we blame things in the external world constantly. I ate something that gave me an allergy. That doctor, did something wrong to me. That, it's always something in the external world that we perceive to be the cause. And this is the massive shift we have to make, is the recognition that the cause does not exist in the external reality. The cause exists within, but even more specifically, it's at the frequency of the causal level, which is a level of consciousness. And as we come into taking responsibility for that knowing, we also recognize that the solution is the cause. So the solution to whatever we perceive in the external world to be a problem exists at the causal level, and that causal level exists within us, within our consciousness, and a bandwidth of vibratory state that we can align with to discover and uncover from within ourselves. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Lori. Yeah, amazing. Very deep and very important to understand what's going on in the world with polarity. And that we are here to just transition that to a whole nother level of unification, which is really what we came here to do. So thank you. And I'd love to go back to the Stargate and see what Prageet and Julianne has to share with us on any of those topics or any next level ascension information that you feel called to share. And if Alcazar wants to come through, that's fabulous as well.
I'm sure he'd love to. But I just want to say, I just really loved what Laurie was saying. And it goes very much along with what Alcazar has been sharing. And everything is vibration. Basically, it all comes down to vibration. And the Stargate creates an energy field which allows people to experience what it's like to actually raise your vibration. It gives you a taste, a feel of where we're going to. So it creates a very powerful field. And if people are really ready and willing, if they just relax into that field, they start to integrate some of those higher vibrations permanently into their field. And one of the things that Alcazar has been talking about, well, he's asking if he can come through and say it himself. So, beloved ones, we greet thee. 'Tis Alcazar. And indeed, it is a great honor for us to be with all of you in this moment of your time. We invite you simply to relax, for as we talk, we invite you to share an energetic that we will be emanating to each and every one of you. The Stargate works in the quantum field. The Stargate works beyond all dimensions, all realms. It operates in the quantum field, the field that is spirit. For you are, as you all know, on some level, you are part of spirit. You are spirit incarnate. You are spirit choosing to experience this amazing reality that is your earth. Right now, in these times, it is time to come home, so to speak. But it is not a big rush. It is about to enjoy the journey, as has already been said, to understand, to experience, to enjoy the revelation that you can bring to your own self and then share with the rest of those of humanity. So, how? What is the best way? There are numerous ways. But one of the things for most people to understand is that element of judgment that Laurie has touched on. Judgment separates. And beloveds, you have been trained to judge. In fact, you have been trained for lifetimes to judge not only the exterior world, but your own interior world. So many of you carry self-judgment. Judging, I am not good enough. Judging, I do not deserve. Judging that is going to be impossible to change. Your own self-judgment is what needs to be seen and transformed by beginning to love yourself more deeply. And again, this is an energetic that the masters, the guides bring to you through the Stargate, where you can experience a higher level of self-love. And again, simply by allowing yourself to resonate in that, health and wellness on all levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetics, start to gently realign themselves. So this is simply a tool, but this is where each and every one of you are moving towards, whether it is understood or not. Humanity individually needs to evolve. And that which you are experiencing here on your earth right now with this so-called COVID is indeed a gift in some ways. There are those who are being drastically brought down by it. There are those who are leaving the planet. Many more will follow them. But also, there is a time before departing the body when individuals can have a deep insight about their learning through this COVID experience. And that deep insight can support them when they return back to the planet in a new body, in a new level of existence. And so, even though they may depart this physical body, there is a great opportunity for understanding and choosing a higher reality when they return.
And so, beloved ones, this is indeed a time of great awakening. There is a sea change in the level, the vibratory level of consciousness. There is also, as this one Asil has said, massive turbulence in the mass unconsciousness. And so this is a time for each and every one of you, each and every one who is sentient, who is on this awakening process, to claim your power. What does it mean to claim your power? It means to claim your ability to choose, your ability moment by moment to realign, to open the gateways to the higher frequencies that are available, not just in order to feel good, not just in order to access those other realms and dimensions, but also to allow the flooding of the energy of oneness, total acceptance, transmutation of all that has been here on your earth, both individually and collectively. And we have given the image before of this duality that you are in: good, bad, light, dark, hot, cold. As you bring the energy of higher consciousness to all facets of being human, you actually start to bring these two poles together. And this is occurring on your earth. And then once they are in the energy of oneness, you start to go like this. Beloveds, feel the resonance, because each one of you, within your own faculties of awareness, have the entry point to your own ascension process. It is within you that you access truth, knowingness.
Alcazar said that change can happen very rapidly because of this concept that everything is energy. And that if there is a thought process that is creating separation, then by bringing an energetic to counterbalance that, so to speak, we come back into the oneness. On the physical level, with dis-ease, which has been created by thought processes and emotional processes that are not our truth, that repressed energy or repressed emotions have created imbalance within the physical body. And by bringing the right vibrations, these imbalances can be simply dissolved or brought back into harmony. And that's really the vibrational medicine, is where we're moving towards. Vibrational medicine in terms of the vibration of herbs, vibrational medicine in terms of some of the technologies that are being created right now, and vibrational medicine in terms of the Stargate and these higher mechanisms that are being brought and shared in humanity right now. And so I feel like there's a whole new area that's opening up, which has to do with vibration. And it's giving people an experience of what it feels like to have a high vibration permanently. To have a taste of that helps us to know where we're going. Having a taste of that can actually start the excitement about this process.
And we've been feeling this so much lately within our community of people who are meditating every day, raising their vibration. Is like life on earth can become so amazing right now. And some people are already drawing this in. So
yeah, I mean, some of the things that have been happening for people over this last year, their inner vision is opening up. Their clairaudience is opening up. People are healing their body. People are creating abundance on all levels. And this is a phrase that Alcazar uses a lot. He said, they're here to assist us creating abundance on all levels. Abundance of friendship, abundance, yes, of money, but abundance of intelligence, abundance of health and wellness. This is where we're going. This is the exciting thing.
we could talk about this forever, so we better hand it.
Thank you all so much. That's why I love spending so much time with you. So much wisdom, so current for now, speaks to my heart. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you all. Okay, Camille, I'd love to invite you back again for your next level of sharing of personally high-level ascension information that we should be knowing right now.
Thank you. So Spirit likes to teach through me that everything in life is impersonal, and this is a really great way to move out of the polarization when we recognize that everything is impersonal. When we experience it feeling personal, that's when we know that we are bound to it at some level karmically. And this is a way to become conscious of when we might have a karmic energy. I teach the daily levels of clearing for enlightening life. And in the daily levels of clearing, there are daily self-care routines and rituals that we can engage in to be free of any unconscious energy that would manifest a negative experience or a charged experience or outer reality, because the unconscious mind controls the biology of the body and the outer life 95% of the time. Therefore, when we have a charged experience, such as an illness in our body or some chaotic conflict with another human being, we can ask, am I storing an unconscious energy that would manifest this outer experience? And by tuning into this process, we can ask, where is this unconscious energy at? And it might be at an age in this lifetime, or it might be in another incarnation, past, present, or future. It's really important to stay focused, to be in our heart and to stay heart-centered. And so daily, when we ask our heart to beat as one with the heart of Mother Earth and the heart of the great central sun, we're moving into the coherent field where 0 point is and where miraculous healing and transformation can occur. And lots of individuals shut down their heart when they're in fearful places. And so it's really wonderful if we acknowledge our fear, and every day I acknowledge my fear and I invite it into love, and I still choose to take action to go forward on what I'm guided to do or what serves my highest good. And inviting our fear into love every day allows us to then begin to create a new reality and keep our heart open as a fiery vortex of love and light that really will transcend the negative energies. And all this takes for individuals who have low vibrations and are wanting to step into their self-mastery is courage. And Archangel Gabriel, who is the angel of the Ascension, says, the courage of God resides in me. I am the courage of God. So I encourage individuals to invite their fear into love daily and to ask, to just affirm the courage of Source resides in me and I am the courage of Source, and keep our heart open as a fiery vortex of love. In the daily self-care routines, we can use our body pendulum, which is essentially standing up and asking our body to show us yes, and then asking our body to show us no, to get our own onboard guidance system letting us know the answers. Am I storing an unconscious energy manifesting this outer experience? If my body says yes, then I can ask the next question. Is it from this lifetime? Is it a thought form? Is it an emotion? Is it my own energy, or am I the container of somebody else's energies? In our daily self-care routines, we need to make sure that we are setting our daily intent and then asking if there's any unconscious energy that would block that intent. We can ask, do I have a psychic cord attached to another human? Does another human have a psychic cord attached to me? Because many humans are enmeshed and entangled with other humans and they're unaware of it. When one human feels responsible for another human, which we're taught usually as children, it allows the other human's energy to sit in our body, their thought forms, their emotions, and even their traumas. Sometimes these will happen for multiple lifetimes, and we'll discover that we're bound to a soul group. If we're storing other individuals in our body, it will lock down our pain body and we might experience chronic pain. And it's very easy to invite other individuals' energies out of our body, put them into the violet flame to be transmuted and cleared, and return to their sender or their owner in their higher form. Also, we can invite our own unconscious energies into the heart of love, put them into the violet flame. So if we're storing an emotion that's heavy, such as hatred or anger, we can invite our own anger and hatred out of our body, put it into the violet flame to be transmuted, and have it be restored to our highest form. Every time we acknowledge one of our own negative energies and transmute it, we are actually lifted into a more, in a greater level of self-power and self-awareness and ability to ascend. When we have a charged outer experience, which is very common with individuals who are sick and have illnesses such as cancer, they, in my experience, are more than 90% of the time storing another person's energy in their body. And we can begin to find out where the other people's energies are in our body. They can be in our endocrine glands, they can be in our organs, they can be in our lymph nodes. And we can clear these out of our body, and then our body can be restored to a greater level of health. In the self-mastery process, we can manifest easily and quickly, and it's immediate manifestation of our sacred heart desires, our goals, our intentions from our sacred heart knowing if we have zero unconscious energies blocking them. That's why making a list of goals or creating a vision board is so great, because when you set your goals and intentions, you can then ask if there's an unconscious energy blocking it, find out if it is your own or somebody else's, and begin to do the transformative transmutation process to be free of this. In addition to having unconscious energies blocking us, we often have conscious energies blocking us. And many humans will be storing values and belief systems that belong to our parents and other authority figures from childhood, such as what mom and dad thought about money or men and women or life. And then we might have that within our own self. As a human working to gain self-mastery, it's deliberate conscious intent, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When we have a negative thought form, we should always pair with it the opposite of the thought form or what we would rather have. I like to call this shift to the 8 to the infinite. The idea of being heaven above earth, move it to side by side. So we have our human experience, which we have to love and accept ourselves unconditionally, even our negative emotions and negative feelings. And we have our standing in our divinity, choosing to create a new reality self, which is choosing the new reality and thanking our higher self for bringing it into form. When we shift the 8 to the infinite, we can begin to experience in our physical form all of our sacred heart desires that we have been kept a secret and didn't think we could have, and also all of our ideas of what heaven would be like on earth. We're not really supposed to die to go to heaven. We're here to create heaven in physical form in our body on earth. Our personal power is inherent. We have to do nothing to have our power. Every thought form we have is manifesting what it is. Every emotion we have is manifesting what it is. And when we step into our true power as free will beings, free and sovereign with direct access to source energy, an unlimited being with unlimited potential, an eternal soul in a temporary human form, with the power to create and the power to uncreate. That is our true purpose and what we're here for. And when we have a soul contract or a negative experience, we can uncreate it by saying no to it and sending our higher self out to remove it, or by acknowledging it and putting it into the violet flame to be transmuted and choosing the new reality. Every day is the new day with the new way. We can never give up on ourselves. We can stand up the next day and start all over again and do our daily work to be free and sovereign, knowing that all incarnations, we played the role of Team Dark and might have been a negative agenda being ourselves. And all incarnations, we played the role of Team Light, and we might have been an angel or an Andromedan or an Arcturian or an avian seraphim, that they are all unifying through the one heart of love in the now. And it is the human who is the co-creator that unifies them. It is the human who really is intended to be the ascended master in human form. And the elementals don't have free will, and they have to do our bidding. So when we release the soul contract, we're freeing the elemental world. And the angels do not have free will, and they incarnate into a human body and wake up and then free their angel self and begin to do their angel work as a human. And these are the next levels of how to gain mastery and move into that greater level of success. Always in the now, claiming my good today and every day, success today and every day, and victory in this process, and thanking the higher self for doing the work to bring it into form.
Beautiful, Camille. Thank you so much. So much wisdom. Such a wealth. Thank you. All right. And now Laura would love to understand next levels of understanding, what's happening with Ascension in the world, Ascension personally, whatever you'd like to share. It feels appropriate to come through you right now.
Gosh, I mean, what everybody has shared is just so incredible. And I can only just reiterate some of it in my own words and, see what else comes through. I just really appreciated everything about, if we look at raising frequency, I guess it wouldn't be a reiteration, but I know we've all touched upon this because we're all on the same page, because these are universal principles that we're all connecting with. And so, for example, looking at like the Hawkins scale, she was just talking about courage. And that frequency of courage is actually what takes a person to the next level, where the transmutation and alchemical shift can actually begin to take place. Even to the point where the AI infiltration cannot get in there. The shielding starts to take place, because courage is, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to live my truth. I'm going to jump out of that airplane and not fear that the parachute's going to open or not. That might be sort of a metaphor we're not all comfortable with, because we might not all sign up for that. But on some level, we have to take risks. If it means we need to leave a job that we don't agree with because it's asking us to compromise ourselves, or maybe a relationship, we need to be willing to face the discomfort connected to reclaiming our power, and trust that if we're connected to our higher mind, integrity, and a greater value system, and we're starting to answer to a deeper calling, how can we really go wrong? Even if it's a little daunting, because what we're used to isn't showing up, which is where the programmings come in. Are we really needing to be that attached to a paycheck when we are abundant beings and the earth is abundant? The earth is the one that generates all the food that we eat. And there's been a dollar sign between us for, far too long. And we need to see a sense of liberation and stepping away from some of those things that cause us to compromise ourselves, or that become toxic, so that we can choose something greater. And that discomfort can help us to see how sovereign and how powerful and how creative we actually are. The more we supplement it, the more we allow it to compromise us, the more something else is in charge, and we're not going through the process that we need to find courage to face, the underworld. So facing our shadow and giving it love, which was also mentioned, overcomes the negative self-talk. When we can run into a trigger or an aspect of ourself we don't like, are we going to judge it? Are we going to deny it? Are we going to act out in ways that harm other people? Or are we going to give it the time and attention it needs, like a screaming child? Does it need to be held? Does it need to cry it out? Well, let's ask questions to these things that come up in us, because it has wisdom, it has information, it has a vibratory frequency that can help us to know how to handle whatever it is. And it's not always going to be the same. Pain is not always going to be because there's a physical injury or an emotional pain connected to a trauma. It might be a different kind of pain, like empathic pain, empathic overload of feeling too much of what other people are going through. So if we face it and give it love, we raise a vibration in that level of honesty and that level of, transparency with the self, so that we can see the root of it, and not just label it something like, or go into avoidance or ask somebody else to solve it for us. Of course, there are helpful individuals and healers and practitioners that can help us, but the ones that really have our back and have a greater understanding are helping us to step into that level of empowerment, so that we can begin to do it ourselves, because we have those kind of answers within ourselves. And I think that is a part of what this greater awakening is. And if we look at the real integration of polarity, I feel it's giving those places of insecurity and pain or uncertainty, self-doubt, fear and anxiety, unconditional love. That's an integration of polarity. Same with light and dark. Light and dark, that integration of polarity is recognizing that the soul and the womb is like the soil, and it receives seeds of our higher consciousness to grow a garden, to grow abundance, to grow new realities in life. If those thought forms are tainted, if the soil is tainted, if it's operating under somebody else's programming, it's not going to look so great, and it's not going to produce very good results. So we have to determine what we should keep and what we should discard. And the transformation process and the death, rebirth, alchemical process helps us to do that. Where do we need boundaries? What do we prefer not to take in and manifest and generate versus, what is our higher self and our greater goals, dreams, and visions wanting for us? And when something comes out of left field that we don't understand, where is our openness to understanding maybe something that our higher self is trying to show us? And like the last speaker just mentioned, where we begin to unlock our unconsciousness and shine a light on it. And when we do that, we recognize that we're multidimensional. And that's where incredible, growth takes place. So, even in the face of lockdowns and all this tyrannical authority, how can we leverage it in our favor? We can develop our greater abilities, like telepathy, like connecting with those that we might not be able to see in the physical and recognize that the physical, we're not bound to the physical. And if we begin to really put our consciousness on the soul matrix and what's beyond and the spirit realms and really anchor and ground it, we recognize that the spirit domain has greater power than physical matter. And the more we anchor it into the physical plane, we raise the frequency of what's physical. And that's how we restore the tree of life template. We have to invite it in. We can't go from higher self to lower self. We need to invite it in, let it be a part of our root chakra, let ourselves have a root system so that we can, have this energetic circulation that constantly, purifies us. But we need to accept the energetic maintenance, because things are going to come up that we thought we might have healed. That was my week. It's like, okay, I'm glad I have that in me to remember, that it's not a place you arrive and then you just stay. It's a commitment to the spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional hygiene and energy work. And we're going to be slammed with all sorts of things. Question is, can we process it in a way that serves us and also protects others from the discomfort, so we aren't in that blame shame game, which Lori talked about as well. Holding something else outside of us always responsible for our discomfort. This is a great initiation, and people climb Everest and barely survive it, but they signed up for the pain, so they gain strength. When you feel like a victim to pain, it's always somebody else's fault. And yes, sometimes and very often there is abuses and things that are absolutely inappropriate, but we need to determine the differences with spiritual maturity and integrity. And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Laura. Definitely, this is a journey, not for the faint of heart. It's a full-on experience. And thank you for sharing your perspective. Appreciate you. And now I'm so happy to present again Asil, who I'm really looking forward to his perspective of the next level information we should know. And if you feel to let your guides come through, that's also a possibility, Asil. Whatever you feel is supposed to happen to share with this incredible audience that we have here.
Thank you, Deborah. What comes to mind and to heart is the one thing that the guides continuously repeat on sharing is that every individual has the power to self-realize. Every individual has the power to become an enlightened being in human form. So we have all of these templates within us. We have the capacities within us. How is it that we are continuously straying away from that which is already inherently within us, when our soul continuously desires to be enlightened, to be awakened, and to ascend? So in this last big age that humanity has gone through, some call it the Dark Ages, we have been challenged by the low frequencies that have been on this plane. And we have been in some form of karmic loop where we continued to cycle through karma, continued through generations and generations of let's call it challenge and learning, cause and effect. It also seems that that those cycles are coming to an end. It is a great age of realizations. It is a time to understand that all that we have experienced in the past and we currently are experiencing are great opportunities to learn and to realize. And every realization becomes a building block for evolution and self-realization and ascension eventually. So what I'm witnessing is how much the guides are focusing on establishing so-called pillars of light on this planet. And a lot of the guided training courses that we do are basically geared on how can we establish as many pillars of light on this planet as possible. Those are individuals that have faced their darkness, have faced their shadows, their traumas, and all aspects of their past in order to become empowered within themselves, in order to hold a neutral state, a connection to this earth, as well as a connection to higher planes of consciousness, where any challenge that appears in front of them, be it about their own lives, be it a circumstantial challenge within humanity, they can hold the energy, they can hold the space, they can hold their center. Now, pillars of light in this world will become a significant element. It's the person that you turn to when shit hits the fan. You see what they're going to do. You see how they're going to react. Now, of course, it's not supposed to take away from your own journey of evolution, from your own journey of empowerment and sovereignty. But nonetheless, it is an anchor. So individuals like that will establish a collective, communities, as well as a fabric for human society to be able to connect and feel that there is still light, no matter how challenging the circumstance is. So it is the age of realization. It is the age of empowerment. It is the age of self-realization. And we are in this age of the ascension process. And can we, no matter what the challenges are that are appearing in front of us, truly embrace all that we are as human beings, as well as a human collective? Can we collectively transform all the traumas, all the incomplete learnings, all the unprocessed past that we have generated through many, many generations, so that we can actually move through all of these aspects, embrace them as part of the great learning to be a human consciousness collective? Now, these increasing energies that are on this earth will create the unfolding of many different powers that some of you already have spoken about. Anything from telepathy to manifestation and materialization, dematerialization, all of those very interesting things, superpowers that are embedded within the human body, as well as the human energetic template, will become active again. If we know and understand how to utilize the energies that are outside of us and the energies that are within us. So the age of, the ancient books of the ancient yogis, the ancient sages that had superpowers, that is all of you. We are coming into a time where all of that is going to be available for all of us. And that is super exciting. And of course, it's a little bit frightening. And it's, of course, very interesting and curious. So I'll say that we are in an incredibly interesting time of awakening, and the possibilities are seemingly unlimited if we allow ourselves to evolve, if we allow ourselves to heal, to grow, as well as to realize continuously that we are more than we thought we are. We are more than we were told we are. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Asil.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, this has been amazing as usual. I just appreciate and love you all for your passion, your commitment, and your wisdom. And we're going to go one more round of questions. And so I'm going to ask a more specific question to you, but you can also take what you feel is coming through you now to share and expand on that. And then on this round, can you please share at the end how people can get more of you, what you're offering? I'm putting your website links in the chat room, but anything that you're offering now that people can enjoy more of your wisdom and experience. So Lori, I so appreciate being in your sessions and experiencing the guides and the masters come through you and the wisdom that comes through you. And I know myself, I have my own sense of being connected with a lot of master beings, but I know that they are here to help. A lot of you do work with guides for your information, but can you give some information how all of us can tune in more and be more in relationship with our guides, with the Ascended Masters, and have them on our team, really have a team of beings that can help us accomplish our mission and be more in tune with the help that's available now. And I understand that we really need to ask. It's not like they show up and barge into our life, although sometimes if we've asked on a soul level, it'll seem like that. But share more about that and anything else that you feel called to share, and then share about how people can connect with you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's most important for us to remember is that everything that we need is encoded within us, both personally and globally. All of the codes are inside of us. And when we say codes, the most simplest languaging I can say for that is solutions. Our DNA is the most prized possession on Earth. And I'm grateful that no one needed to make a reference to it, but that's why it's the coveted, right? It's coveted. And so our DNA has both the blueprints for our restoration to our ideal and optimal state of health and well-being, and also our ability to go beyond our physicality into the multidimensional aspect of who we are. So by uncoding that within ourselves, we literally, in the process of uncoding and awakening our dormant DNA, we are raising, so to speak, our vibration, or up-leveling our frequency, and the energetic frequency that we can embody, and we simultaneously are activating our ability to access multidimensional realms where these other benevolence, in a sense, their consciousness resides. And I'll say that for me, I know a lot of people know this, it started for me just by wanting to be of service to animals on a global scale. And the animals became my earliest teachers. And they would, talk to me and say, we're going to teach you. And through my desire to be of service, I realized that I had to up-level and expand that to include humans to help animals. And then it just kept growing because there was a sincere desire to be of service. And then the simultaneous connection with my star family race through my first contact experience, the codes in my own DNA got activated. And then as I started to share that with others, I started to realize it's just incredible, the unlimited potential. And I'll just say a few more words on this, because obviously when we're, the potential for something to be, injected and disrupt, a DNA disruptor that can interfere with that, that ability, it can be cleared and resolved for us, but it's a deterrent. So we want to be cultivating that ability to access and awaken that which is dormant within us. And that includes clearing or resolving anything that might be corrupted in the DNA. And that includes false programs or imprints or, divide and conquer programs or separation programs or false matrix programs, or just we can go on and on about this stuff. But as we clear and resolve those first two sort of corrupted strands, including all the wounds of our ancestors, and then we start awakening the next 10 strands that are dormant, that's where we start up-leveling and accessing our connection with our guides and guardians in a more coherent way, in a more unified way, where we can all really have this kind of clarity within ourselves that there is no exterior authority, that there is no external being that has to ultimately be our ruler, or that even our source for our infinite supply, whether it's financial abundance or infinite health and well-being, or again solutions to whatever's going on in the external world, that is within us. And by the way, beyond the first 12 strands, which science really hasn't discovered yet, they're still etheric, that is unlimited potential. It is just pure, unlimited, undiluted from anything. So once we start accessing beyond our 12th strand of DNA, we become really in our mastery of creating our reality. And I want to add one other piece to this too, is that we sometimes forget that, yes, while there is a collective experience that we overlap with, and that is part of our organic or inorganic experience, depending on what we're tuning into or playing with or interacting with, but the true organic experience also includes that we as individuals are having a holographic reality of our own, right? Our own personal experience. And this is like where if you think about a Vesica Pisces, it's like you're your own flower of life. You're your own creation of your personal experience. Then you interact with other people's experiences and the collective at large. But the key is that as one being comes into its own divine perfection, one unified being, it cannot not affect the whole. And that's why I was saying earlier, like that all the solutions are within us, and that our ability to go within and take full responsibility and recognize that nothing in the external world has power over us ultimately, and that there is no external authority over us in that sense, that our ability to make that change within ourselves cannot not improve the quality for the whole, for the collective. Because our holographic experience, while we create our own, is also interacting with everyone else's. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. But through that experience, to me, that's how we ultimately are connecting with these multidimensional aspects of ourselves. And each of us exists as a part of a collective on all levels and layers, all dimensions, all realities. And it's just a matter of whether we can vibrate in harmony with that aspect of ourselves that exists there. So I hope that's helpful. Oh, I'll just add in this last piece how people can stay in touch, since you said that. My website is lorispagna.com. That's my name, LORISPAGNA. And for people who want to learn more about connecting with animals and help working with the animals, they can get free gifts at lorispagna.com/free gifts /animals. For people who want to learn more and activate your DNA, really get good at, great activations there, you can go to lorispagna.com/free gifts /DNA. And one last one for those of you who resonate as starseed and want to know more about your role as a starseed, or the different roles of the indigo family races. You can go to lorispagna.com/free gifts /starseed. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you so much for bringing up DNA activation. That's such an important part of it, and it's one of your superpowers that you share with the world. So really important to include in this panel. Thank you. And we will go back to the Stargate. So again, let come through what's supposed to come through, but One thing you have taught me, Alcazar, Prageet, and Julianne, is the understanding of quantum consciousness, which is the next level of where we're going. I felt definitely glimpses of that and ahas and understandings. And some people may say fifth dimensional consciousness, but share with, if you can, like where we're headed, where our consciousness is going and what that's about. And you also speak a lot about self-love, which is extremely important to really heal the soul and be able to get to these higher levels of consciousness. So those questions and whatever wants to come through and how people can connect with you later, what you have to offer.
Well, we could talk for hours on what you just suggested.
Exactly.
Well, I really loved what Laurie was just saying. And one of the things that Alcazar has been stressing is that you've never been born, you never die. This body is temporary, but the spirit, the beingness, your super conscious is eternal. You are part of spirit. And we know that we've been living lifetime after lifetime in these human bodies. But before we came here, we lived elsewhere. We have star families out there who are living on a different experience of time, and they are waiting for us to awaken, to reconnect, to remember the incredible levels and layers of wisdom that we've lived in the past. And so part of this awakening process, or moving towards enlightenment, as some people like to think of it, we've already been enlightened. Those civilizations reached enlightenment millions of our Earth years ago. So it's not a struggle to become enlightened. It's about relaxing and remembering. It's about allowing your energies to simply reignite that which you already know. And that's where the Stargate comes in. It raises people's vibrations. They start to connect to the memory. The Stargate vibrates you on a DNA level. It reactivates parts of the dormant DNA. It starts to reactivate some of the higher dimensional DNA, the non-physical DNA, which includes the past life experiences in the human form and out there in the universe. There is just so much that's accessible to us. Science says that as humans, we experience about 1% of reality. And now it's about starting to expand just a little more into the rest of reality. And the way Alcazar describes what we call the quantum field is it's that field of spirit. It has many names. And within that field, everything else exists. All the realms, all the dimensions exist within the quantum field. But we are directly connected to that field as creators. And in the New Age, so-called New Age understanding, for years, we've all said, oh, we're creators of our own reality. But we haven't really deeply understood that. And it has to do with our vibration, moment by moment vibration. And I think, as we've heard from some of the other speakers, every thought, every feeling, every action is a vibration, and that vibration is instantly vibrating the field, because we are the field, and the field vibrates and reflects back to us in our physical reality where we're at. The reflections might come instantaneously, or then the next day, or the next month, or even the next year. But every thought, every feeling, every intention, depending on the strength of it and how often we reinforce it, it is reflected back to us. And so that's one really important thing that I feel like we need to be really aware of. There's no time when you're off purpose. It's happening. Whether you're really depressed and down, you're putting that energy out into the field. And in these moments when we're connecting with like-minded people, we're raising our vibration and we're putting that into the field.
And so there's a part of us that has never forgotten
Mhm.
who we truly are. And Alcazar has given me this image before of, as we enter into higher states of consciousness, it's like we're punching holes in the veil, or like a tiny pinhole of light. But the cool thing is, a pinhole camera lets you get a whole picture.
Mm.
So so many of us who are drawn to this work have had tastes of these types of experiences where it's like awakening, like, yes, it's a process, and yes, we're all like transmuting and getting there, but also it's like sometimes when we enter into that state of knowingness, it is like such a glimpse of the eternal part of us that has never forgotten. And so the remarkable thing actually is that within this construct of 3D reality, we forget so completely. Like, that's what's really amazing in a sense. And what we get to do is really the greatest adventure, I think, that our souls could possibly embark upon, because we get to forget completely. And we get to have the experience of remembering, like, if we've never been born and we've never died and we've been enlightened on other planets before, we have such a treasure chest of experiencing within us to remember.
Yeah, there's one other thing that I'd like to mention. It just shot right out of my head as I was listening to Julianne. Oh, right. One of the things Alcazar said, which might be helpful for some people, is that more advanced spiritual beings were incarnated into this particular lifetime to have a really challenging, difficult experience, and that they were totally shut down by it. And painful experiences, violence, abuse, whatever. And they chose that. They consciously chose the parents or the situation so that they would be shut down by it. They would live through it. They would suffer with it, knowing that their spirituality would find a place to bring them out of that, to actually resolve those terrible situations, to come back into balance, into oneness. And he said people have chosen that because in doing that, you're opening up a doorway. You're making it a little easier for those people living in similar situations, having those same struggles. You are making it easier for them to find the way out of their particular experience. And so I just want to honor those people that have lived through those very challenging lives, because you're doing a grand service. And I really want you to know that.
Highly intelligent people are drawn to spirituality. It's not like woo-woo. It's not all like rainbows and unicorns, although they're both amazing. It's like we have so often had like the deepest experiences of all of like the range of human experiences that we can be through, and it's those that propel us toward our search and toward our healing. And so yeah, it's an amazing journey that we are on, and we are all in it together. We're all carving these pathways toward freedom.
And one of our joys has actually been working with Asil. And as you mentioned, Deborah, we did something in Costa Rica, accelerated Ascension. And that is something that's available as a recording for people to experience. And the amazing thing about the work that we do is that even though you're listening to a recording of the voice or the music, the energy is a response to you in the moment that you're meditating with it. So people have the most incredible experiences of transformation listening to the recordings, meditating with them, which is the critical part, because then the energies which are in the quantum field respond to you in that moment. And so there's all kinds of, Jules, you tell us about some of the things that are available, because I'm just getting off on the energy.
I mean, what's really cool about this Stargate is that it is like a pure consciousness. So it's an interdimensional doorway. It's a higher dimensional being, and it responds to whoever is around it. So when we work with a seal, it's really fascinating because the seal has this ability to just like skyrocket his level of consciousness. And as like people who hold this energy field all the time, it's like the field will suddenly be like, and this is also what's happening collectively. Like we did this accelerated ascension process, and we've been doing a daily meditation, like 14 days a month. We've been meditating every day with our community around the world of over 2,000 people. And our ability to connect to the field and raise into this higher frequency is becoming pronounced. And our guide Alcazar is saying we're about to start using that. We've just about reached the level where as a collective, we can start to enter the quantum field in order to change the world. So if you're curious about this Stargate, the best thing to do is actually experience it for yourself, really, because the Stargate is all about direct experiencing. This is the function of the Stargate, is to enable anyone to have their own direct experience of the energy field around them raising, it vibrating their own energy field in their own portal, their own Stargate, connecting up. And so if you go to our website, the StargateExperienceAcademy.com, you'll find a lot of free meditations. You'll find all of our online programs. And also on YouTube, we're about to start dropping a ton of free meditations. So you can follow us there too.
What's amazing for people that haven't experienced it before is that they can feel the masters coming into their space or the angels coming in to their meditation when they're invited. So thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I've been putting your website in the chat room, and all of you are so amazing independently, but when you team up together, that's like a whole nother level. And I think that's what we're here to do now, is really team up together and keep taking our activations and our consciousness and our alignment to the next levels by working together, which is what we're doing right now. So appreciate you so much for all your teachings and dedication.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll go back to Camille, another one who I appreciate so much, who works with people individually tirelessly on their ascension process. And she is truly a multidimensional being. In my sessions with her, we will go to all the multi-level dimensions that are there. She's very experienced of seeing and perceiving and understanding realities. So would love for you to share more about that, Camille, and whatever else you'd like to share, and then share about yourself and what people can experience with you if they work with you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, all the panelists. You're so amazing. So I work with multidimensional realities. I didn't really intend to start off that way, but it just happened. And when I'm working with individuals and going through the daily levels of clearing and of daily levels, the plays that what we ask ourselves so that we're always free and sovereign with direct access to source, and we can manifest our sacred heart desires and fulfill our soul's purpose with ease, and move into that state of bliss and joy that we're intended to experience, where all of our birthrights are inherent and we have to do nothing but just be in the process and ask for what we want and thank source for bringing them into form. Right now, we're going through a collective monadic activation. So the Atman, which is our higher self, has been anchored really in the heart of every man, woman, and child, and we have access to that. Each individual does. And the monad is now being activated in the crown chakra of every man, woman, and child, because we are in the location in our planet and in our Milky Way of what we call the origin lifetimes. And so the origin lifetimes are the cosmic lifetimes in history, where when we go through cosmic history, we learn about the Orion Wars and the Electric Wars and some wars in this cosmic place. The monadic activation is really where we're beginning to recognize that Earth is a 12th dimensional planet and that every human is multidimensional, and that we each, maybe the easiest way to say it is, if you're standing in the middle of a clock in the circle and you look at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, like it's a space around you, you can think that in the 1 o'clock, which is the first dimension, your soul might have 12 incarnations. And in the 2 o'clock, which is the second dimension, where you're a plant or an animal, your soul most likely has 12 incarnations. And so each individual has multiple incarnations. And as we're doing our work, what we know is happening right now is that the negative agenda is taking up the capstone in the center and using our own shadow consciousness against us from multiple dimensions at once. And I've probably had more than 100 individuals be stuck in the second dimension, the 9th dimension, and the 11th dimension at once. And then there's this frequency fence placed between the 10th and the 12th dimension, which keeps us from having access to our higher angelic consciousness as a being of light. So this monadic activation is like 12 psychic antennae, like the Statue of Liberty, around our crown chakra. And as it activates, our cosmic consciousness comes online, and our Star Merkaba, our Sacred Heart Ascension Temple, which is also a Stargate, comes online, and we're sitting in our solar light body and able to become whole and to manifest and to create and to fulfill our soul's purpose. As the individual begins to clear their own unconscious energy, we have to clear the wounds in multiple dimensions. Many humans, in fact, I've never met a human who doesn't have an animal or a plant lifetime, more likely animal. And as an animal, they may have experienced humans harming the ecosystem or killing them, hunting them, trapping them. And then they judged all humans and incarnated as a human and are bound to the judgment that they made against humans because they're in the human body now. Many humans have lifetimes as a Draco reptilian in the 10th dimension, or as a cyborg or gray alien in the 8th dimension, and as a slave that is being treated in torturous ways by other beings. So literally, our cosmic consciousness is about us remembering, which is our birthright, having our full wisdom restored, all of our multidimensional incarnations, and unifying them through the one heart of love, because the human is the superpower crystal created to unify and heal the entire cosmic wounds and rifts from the place when 5 planets were blown up and all of those beings became refugees on planet Earth and other planets. And so many souls on this planet have multiple realities. And if we have a wound in another dimension, it can be used against us today and we will be stuck. But because it's in multiple dimensions at once, we may not see it. So I instruct individuals to stand in the center of that 13 and to look into each dimension and ask all of those incarnations to be healed and cleared, and run gold light for the golden age of enlightenment through each of those dimensions, from the center of the earth to the center of the great central sun. As we begin to clear our negative agenda lifetimes, all of our positive agenda lifetimes come online as an angel, as a high consciousness light being, as a Pleiadian, as an Arcturian, and they each have a superpower gift for us to work through us in the now. And so we can download and activate all the superpowers of our other incarnations in our own DNA, make them known, make them understood, and begin to be the individual who unifies and transcends all the conflicts in our past, our present, and our future realities. As a free sovereign being, we have to rescind any allegiance we have made with any authority system and any other dimension, time, and space, and take up our own authority for ourselves from this day forward, aligned with the one ascension of Mother Earth and the one ascension of the universe. This process is not that difficult to do when we understand what we are doing. And you don't even really have to know how to do it, just be open to do it, because the minute you discover that you have another form that is ready to unify, You just invite it in and thank your higher self for doing it. And your guides and your higher self will begin to bring you that information. I have many tools that help people do this work. I come from a theosophical background, and in theosophy, we teach and learn that you have to balance the threefold flame in the heart, which is love, receiving the infinite supply, wisdom, having our divine knowing turned on, and power, the power to create and uncreate. And once the threefold flame is balanced and healed, then we clear the karma from the molecular level of the four causal bodies in the level of matter: earth, air, fire, water, our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body. I have written a book called Heaven on Earth, Just for Being. It's a light activation playbook, and it does teach individuals how to heal the sacred heart and begin to activate their birthrights and their inherent superpowers as eternal souls in temporary human form, with the power to create and uncreate, and to unify and transcend polarity and really move into the one ascension of Mother Earth as an ascended being. Also, you can find me on Heaven on Earth, justforbeing.com, and my email address is Camille@heavenonearth.justforbeing.com. I want to leave with an affirmation, and when we begin to affirm that we are light, we become the pillar of light that we are intended to be. And when we proclaim that light is produced at the center of our bones, which is one of the tools in the science of immortality, we turn on the life force energy within us, and that begins to shift the death frequencies that many have been bound to. Also, it allows us to walk through the fire of man unscathed with the fire of source at the center of our bones, meaning with the toxins and the attacks that we are experiencing at this time that are attacking our DNA, this is one way to keep our DNA healthy and strong. And this is an affirmation that I teach to many individuals. And when we feel fearful and attacked, we can do light affirmations for hours, and it will always shift us. So we can begin to proclaim whenever we put our hand on our heart, we're unified, our mind and our heart together, it's automatically unified. And it becomes the copper wire connecting the two sides of the battery, our masculine, electric, power, will, purpose, our magnetic, feminine, love and understanding, and the power of the spoken word, creative, active intelligence, the first three rays. So we say light, light, light. I am light. I radiate light. I emanate light. I magnify light. Light is produced at the center of my bones and bursts forth from every molecule of my being. Light, light, light. I am light. And just by affirming light every day, you're going to be turning on your life force energy, beginning to restore your full potential and step into that place of being unscathed, whole, and free. Only love is real, and everything else is an illusion. And whenever we experience something that is not love, just keep telling yourself only love is real and come back to that place of choosing love. If you don't know how, it's okay. Just choose it and thank your higher self for bringing it into form. Be open. Always create a bridge from the fearful place, the unknowing place, to the place of opportunity and possibility. Always create that bridge. And I love all of you very much. Thank you very much. Blessings.
Thank you, Camille. Beautiful. And thank you for that affirmation. So powerful. Love you. All right. Just amazing. Laura, we'll go back to you. Come in with your amazing broad perspective of this whole reality. I know you've had a lot of consciousness around our connection with the galactics, as well as personal experience. And that's all part of Ascension. The higher galactics are here with us, as well as the challenges of the other galactics. And it's all part of the process that we're going with. So love to hear more information about that you may have, or anything you feel is important to share at this time. And then also how people can work with you and get more of what you have to offer.
Oh, so awesome. And just amazing shares from everybody. And I am not very familiar with everybody on this panel. So this is I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled, grateful to be a part of it. Yeah, so this bigger picture sort of galactic thing is a part of our multidimensional reality, which is also connected to Earth and physicality. Physicality creates a reality that when we look at it, we can say, okay, that's actually happening. You know, if a car accident happens, nobody can deny, oh, that's just an illusion, that didn't happen. You know, people bleed, people have broken bones, people get sick. That's a part of reality. But how can we take that reality and take it to the next level? And so much was shared in connection with the unconsciousness behind it, or, you know, the feelings that get ignited when those kind of events take place. Are you a victim, or is it going to wake you up and upgrade you? So many people that I've worked with, whether it's cancer or a car accident or being very disabled, they're like, oh my God, this is waking me up. Others can't move in that direction. They feel so victimized that whatever the doctor says or psychiatrist says, you know, they're just taking all these pills to have whatever experience that they need to suffer through, because it's an ailment, it's a diagnosis, it's an illness, it's a disease. And to me, these are all opportunities. And this is a part of the greater awakening, is to be able to see the other side of it and access our miracle vibration. And I always kind of noticed those that had the stories of, oh, the doctor told me I wouldn't be able to walk anymore, and I got up and I walked. Or somebody told me that I had 3 months left to live and I'm still alive and I have grandchildren. So I just feel that level of power and intent, you know, is everything. And there is a process that we see in nature where there's, you know, and it's very connected to Pluto and all the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the three outer planets, I feel are the most initiatory planets. So Neptune would connect to the multidimensional elements of ourselves, the creative imagination, our capacity to tap into all sorts of things. And musicians and artists tend to have a very strong connection to Neptune. They can reach into dimensions beyond. But those that might have experiences with demons or archons on a more visceral level than unconsciously being invaded or infiltrated by them, are in that sort of infection of the creative imagination that keeps them in that sort of relationship, which a lot of people have talked about in this panel. Still having an agreement on some level, because you have an identification, a judgment, a fear, a blame. But these are the initiations. These are our initiatory, you know, friends. And I'm not saying that it's okay, the levels of evil that we see, and especially how it targets children. That's a completely different thing. But yeah, I just feel, you know, there's cycles of nature that involve death, decay, regeneration, rebirth, transformation. And then there's the programmed, genetically engineered and modified version, which literally is using nature and the chi and ionosphere and its energy, you know, all elements, Kundalini, the fire element, I mean, all elements, earth, air, fire, water, ether, to weaponize it. And we're only in this system as long as we are a part of that control and infiltration and contamination. And we can only really heal it within ourselves so that we can upgrade and see a greater, higher earth reflected back to us. There's always going to be a predator and a victim, and contamination of our elemental experience here on planet Earth if we don't begin to shift. So, okay, we witness that, and then there's starseed missions or, you know, higher vibratory missions that come in and are willing to go into there. You know, kind of the cosmic plumber, you know, the cosmic medic that will expose themselves to this level of corruption and contamination to remind people. However long some of those individuals choose to stay is one thing. However long they choose to help the collective have that revelation is another. So when we clear all these elemental energies within ourselves, I feel like the earth responds and we begin to move into higher earth energies, where humans and animals kingdom has a greater communication. And that greater communication means I honor you, I respect you, and I'm not just going to kill you because, you know, I see you as lesser than me. It's like honoring you and seeing that you could be greater. And why is anybody even keeping track? The web of life shouldn't decide who has a hierarchy above anyone. The web of life just knows how to function to create a sustainable environment for people to be able to breathe, birth, and exist. So how can we step into a place of honoring it to the point where we're not harming it and injuring the soul to the point where it fragments? And I know we all die, and there's unseen forces that are a part of our own personal death. Do we have a connection enough with it to not fear it to the point where we're stuck in the astral planes and we're like hunting somebody's house? There's a few people I sort of want to hunt just as a, no, I'm just kidding. It's just like, like, no, I'm in the ghost world, but before I move on, no, I wouldn't do anything harmful. It's just like, oh, you never believe in ghost? No. All right, now I'm going on a tangent. I'll tell you guys where to find me. We are multidimensional, and there's gatekeepers between every layer of dimensional energy that is a part of our DNA and our chakra system, including our galactic chakras. When we start to move into the infinity spiral activation of the 8th and 9th, that's when the psychic attack is really strong. And if we take it too personally, we just go back to where we started. And all of a sudden, it's like we didn't even get anywhere, but we did, and we have. So we have to look at that as another opportunity to climb that mountain, to jump over that obstacle, and strengthen that muscle that might have been atrophied by the need to just rest for a while. But we might have strengthened our dream realm and our capacity to connect to something greater. And at the end of the day, okay, we might ebb and flow. A lot of time in the dream realms, not enough in the physical. A lot of time in the physical, not enough in the multidimensional, spiritual, whatever. At the end of the day, we're all reminding each other and sharing energies, frequencies, and codes, and going through life experiences to help us to become whole again, to have the full 12 strand and beyond. And as long as we're just taking bits and pieces in, I feel we shouldn't reject anything that is uncomfortable and that takes us out of our comfort zone. And if we can do that, we can tell the difference between a mind control program, an infiltration, and us stepping into the fullness of all that we are. So gatekeepers are going to challenge us, you know, they're going to weaponize the process and the initiations. And we're going to create and manifest incredible muscles for ourselves when we can overcome it. And it doesn't matter how many times it takes. We can fall over again and again and again and again. If we can lose the judgment, we can begin to, gain, the wisdom. A baby falls down over and over again. It crawls first. Are we going to be like, oh, you're still crawling? No. Are we going to say to ourselves, oh, wow, you're still saying like and which I probably am. Should I judge myself for it? Or can I laugh at myself? I mean, why are we looking for each other's flaws? I'm not saying us in this panel are, but a lot of people are more focused on that than the greater gift and ability that the person is coming in with. It's sort of like, oh yeah, well, you're not, it's because what? We're not trained to be the perfect journalist that's sitting behind a screen as a TV anchor, because that's what people are used to. Hollywood, magazines, the polished media person that's going to deliver you news to the point where they believe in that stuff and their message because it's polished in a very sort of fake way. And it costs them a lot of money to be able to be that, to even present it. And the ones that are natural that don't have to do that usually speak truth. I would have to say.
Laura,
so I'll stop.
Yeah, can you give us how to reach you? We need to wind up in about 10 minutes.
Yes, so you can find me at cosmicgaia.org. I have a new show called, it's called Conscious, the platform is Conscious Vitality, and the show is Cosmic Gaia, and it's every Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And I have all sorts of guests, and I share a lot about my presentations. And anyway, it's been incredible to be with all of you. And Deborah, you always just do the most stellar job hosting events. And it's been such a pleasure to be in your guys' company and to connect with your downloads, your truth, and your essence. So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Laura, and all you do and all you are, and your incredible passion in your life. So So happy we get to end with Asil, the cream on top for the transmission that he will give. And one thing about Asil is he's an incredible planet grid worker, and that's an important part of what's happening now. So he might want to share about that or something else that wants to come through to end this amazing panel that we've had. So again, welcome Asil to share your wisdom and your love.
Thank you, Deborah. I think it's going to be hard to top all that has been said so far. So I'm very grateful for the incredible beings that are here, that have dedicated their lives and devoted so much energy into helping others and helping themselves and helping humanity in the process of that. So thank you. Super grateful for all the collaborations that we've done with Prageet and Julianne so far, and for all the amazing additional work that is to come, and the impact that I see from it. The sacred earth work that we call, which some know as visiting portals, vortices, ley lines, grid work, there's many names to it. The guides basically have shared that some of the work that we will be doing will be with individuals and with humans on this plane. And some of the work will require to do us work on this earth, as the Earth's energetic field is the field that holds the human consciousness field, and they are intrinsically connected. So Earth's consciousness evolution will impact and assist humanity's consciousness evolution, and vice versa. So there is a direct correlation of Earth's evolution as well as a consciousness. The Earth itself has its own energy lines, has its own energy body, has its own consciousness. Some of these energy lines were established before the seeding of humanity by different conscious forms that established them. Some of them are galactic families and celestial families that established these energy lines. Now, at certain elements, at certain parts of this world where these energy lines cross, there are energetic nodes, really powerful places. Some of those have been recognized by humanity. Some of them you are familiar with. Some of them you may have already visited, and they may have impacted you in tremendous ways. The guides that I work with basically tell us to go to certain places and activate and sometimes adjust or realign some of these spots so that they can actually operate at the highest frequency and at the original intent of that particular energy line, of that particular crossing. At times, the places will be beautiful places to visit, and some places will be really hard to get to, sometimes war zones, sometimes places of global trauma where energy needs to be cleared so that the energy can move freely again across the plane. Now, when these energy lines and energy spots are adjusted and attuned, that entire region starts to operate at a higher frequency and starts to impact the people in that region. Now, as you know, some of you're called to this work and you have access to internet and you don't have possibly other major survival issues going on. You may not be living in a war zone. And we have the luxury to dedicate some of our energy and time to this ascension work. Now, some people don't really have that opportunity. I would maybe argue that a major percentage of human population don't have that opportunity. Now, I believe, and the guides share with us, that through this energetic grid work, that a lot of populations that normally would not have access to some of these rising frequencies, as well as the evolution of consciousness, naturally will be impacted through this work on a global scale. So it is also about scale. It is about reaching everyone on this planet, allowing for the high frequency energies to reach everyone and every region, every corner of this planet. So that's one of our goals. It takes us to incredibly interesting places as a result of it. Most recently, we've completed Guatemala and Costa Rica as part of our journeys. Next will be parts of Europe, Greece and Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, and many others. And we are also supporting individuals to become sacred earth practitioners, where they can themselves identify as well as navigate through specific energy spots on this planet. They can do adjustments, alignments, they can receive as well as transmit from these places on this earth. It could be in your backyard. It doesn't have to be all the way, in England or in Africa or in Australia. It could be literally, the oldest tree that's in your neighborhood that is holding a very sacred spot for that area, for that region. So there are many different opportunities to understand and navigate these energies.
We need to wind up in about a minute. So
30 seconds.
Okay, wonderful.
The second path that we have is the path of the pillar of light, the individual that holds the center and provides assistance in the evolution of consciousness for other individuals. So these two paths, sacred earth practitioners and pillars of light, is what we have dedicated our lives to. This is what we wake up and love delivering and supporting others with. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Deborah, for this incredible panel.
Definitely. There is a wealth of information, dedicated student body, and he's all over the world. So please check Asil out, and love you very much. And thank you, panel. Again, such high level information, all of you. I'm sure this is truly our modern mystery school online that we're doing now to bring back all that we remember and know for these times. So appreciate you all. And I myself am going to share Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe. It's my offering every Saturday night. A lot of these incredible people have been on the show. I'm going to post the link on the chat room, plus the promo code to sign up for a free subscription. So again, thank you all. We'll continue to do this because this is very important information that is necessary to get out to the masses now. So love you and appreciate you all.
Thanks, Deborah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Mhm. And here comes Neil, and thank Neil for holding the space of this incredible conference as usual.
Thank you, Deborah. How many Ascension panels have we done now? Like 4, maybe 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's incredible because it's an evolution, as you know, it's a process, as Camille said. So doing this and checking in with the energies, I feel is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Deborah. I'll be performing spoken word at the After Hours, which is Saturday Night Alive tomorrow. So it starts around the time we actually end for tomorrow. So I'll give everybody the info for tomorrow so you can go right there afterwards if you want to continue the experience. And I'm going to be one of the presenters as well, a performer there. Thank you, Deborah. Love you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, everybody. So let's just do a few announcements. We have Michelle and Laura here, but I'm going to close out for the day, and we're going to start with a new section, which is the After Hours with Laura. So we're closing the YouTube, and we're going to start a new stream. Okay. So everybody on YouTube, firstly, let's do what we did before. And I'm actually really, really impressed because we had 160 people on our YouTube before, and we had 150 people jump over to the other video. So to get 150 out of 160 people to do that is pretty good. So that goes to show that you guys are having fun and you're enjoying this, and you wanted to continue, the flow and the energy with the whole event. So in this moment, I'm sharing 2 links in all the chats. One is the post-conference webinar workshop called Ascension and Truth Workshop. That's going to be on Tuesday. With Sharia Dharma. So putting that to the chats right now in this moment. You can see it right there. And then the other one is the link to watch Laura Eisenhower's presentation that we're going to go over to. Everybody who's tuning in on Laura's platform right now on her YouTube, go to her regular page, her youtube.com/Laura Eisenhower, click on her page, and right there, you'll see the thumbnail for her presentation. So let's start getting everybody over there within the next few minutes. I am going to close out and do a poem. You can wait, or you can start going there now. And the same thing for everybody on Portal to Ascension. We're going to be over on the other platform. So here we go. I'm putting the link one more time. Please do move over there within a few minutes. So let me just go ahead and share my screen really quickly. This is the workshop for tomorrow. For Tuesday. So if you want to attend kind of like a debrief and Ascension activation and clearing workshop with Shreya, you can do so on Tuesday. I posted the link and you can go to portalascension.org, online events, check it out there. Now, for all the people that don't know we're doing a conference, but just tuning in, we're currently at the end of day one of a 4-day marathon of consciousness called the Portal to Ascension Conference 2021. It's the 5th annual. You can go to our website, online events, click through and go ahead and sign up for free or by donation. Tomorrow's schedule is right here. We're going to start the day with a mass meditation with Shreya Dharma, followed by Physics of Ascension with Dan Winter, and then the walk-in hybrid phenomena with Sheila Seppi, Unified Field with Foster Gamble. Barbara Lamb is going to be presenting some of her research and experiences, and that's followed by a conscious hip-hop performance and spoken word with Kyoshi. After him, we have Adam Apollo speaking on galactic civilizations and races and their extraterrestrial technology, how they get to our planet and travel interdimensionally. After him, Phil Gruber, the Ascension download, and Grant Cameron is doing a new presentation tomorrow called What He Learned in 20-something years of UFO school. And basically it's his life story of how he got to this point. And then we will be closing the day off with the ancient history panel with a lot of individuals going to be involved on it. To check out the schedule, just go to the website, go to ascensionconference.com or navigate on our PTA website. Go ahead and scroll down. And then boom, right here, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. Join us, be a part of this, sign up, get the replay. This has been really amazing and such great energy for today. And just the fact that we have so many people, like thousands of people have tuned in over the day, and we're really setting our collective intention on what we want to create on this planet and really want to focus on. So I want to do a poem before we end the first segment and go into the next one. Michelle, did you want to just stand by? Did you want to make a comment before I do that? Good? All right. Okay. So this poem right here, I wrote just like a month ago, and it came from a place of deep like anguish and just, I was really sad and depressed at seeing a lot of things in the world and the division. And kind of like this whole spoken word piece really does signify even the intention for the purpose for this conference, the unity consciousness theme that we have today. And I call it Cocoon. As I enter my cocoon, emotions flood my eyes as I tear up inside, expressed in love from my heart that has been wounded so much. Is that why we are here? Aware of the cycles of time, the intensity, the ability to reach a level of consciousness that has presented itself on this beautiful planet countless times. This planet is so beautiful. The story of how we became. Thousands of years where humanity and time coexisted instead of being authoritative and controlled by the ages that have come and will go and will continue to come again. Each eon presents an opportunity for liberation. As I sit in my cocoon, eyes closed, safe now from the faces, the hatred, the pain. It hurts me often. Knowing the cycles is not a form of implementation, integration of the construct of the highest order when we do not follow leaders but our own sovereign leaders of our own right, a facilitator of energy. Who are we? Why are we here? The philosophy of humanity, what makes us unique, but also what connects us to the plants, the animals, and what lies beneath our skin, the vehicle to transport our essence. This time, it has come before. I cannot judge the transition of one construct into another, one system into another. Who can judge me? The frequencies were designed to provide a depth of experience. Duality came from an infinite singularity until the infinite potential burst into countless possibilities. A fractal, a water drop, a black hole, where I can go and hide. The vibration of love sometimes is buried deep inside. Why am I here? I often wonder, who am I? Why do I exist? Why do I know what I know? I cry often for the beauty of what it means to be human, for the uniqueness of our position as the galactic position of the Earth shifts to better assist my mission. My mission? What if I gave it up? Does life continue and is the energy enough? You see, I gave up my mission multiple times as I could not deal with the depression and the self-hatred inside. I grew up having to lie. Fears, insecurities can lead to a demise or a way to rise. I experienced both. I love the Earth so much that sometimes the love makes it hard to communicate with words. My hope for humanity has been tested over and over. I lost hope, but then a silly joke or just by people watching, my faith is restored. We are beautiful. We are so beautiful. I wish we all knew. I have experienced hatred for myself that altered my health. Only I can help me. Only I can help me. Only I can help me. Thank you all so much. It's the first time I shared that poem. And I was really crying hardcore when I wrote that too. And it's just like, I just wish we could all come together, you know.
No.
Oh, Neil.
Neil, I'm supposed to do a presentation now. I just want to cry, but not like in a depression, but cry in gratitude because you just nailed it. Right? And sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
No, I'm totally agreeing with you, Laura. Neil, you continually inspire me and give me hope. Every single time you share, I feel like everyone receives an activation from you and remembers that we are here for a reason, on purpose. And sometimes we forget. Laura, you do that for us as well. I want both of you to really own that and know that every person here is being up-leveled from the Portal to Ascension Summit, from what every single speaker is sharing. That Ascension panel was off the charts. Laura, you nailed it. Every one of the speakers nailed it. I hope anybody that's joining that's new, that it didn't see the Ascension panel, will go back and watch that, and not only watch it, but share it. Because I was texting Neil at the end of that, Laura, I was texting and saying, Neil, I hope you break this out and share this by itself. And Neil says it needs to go far and wide. And I agree, because we are at the precipice, and we've been saying that for a while, but I wake up in the morning feeling like, is today the day that we're going to go over the other side, where this organic timeline that we've all been talking about is just anchored in, because so many people are popping awake. And when we started this morning, we talked about our intentions, and that was my intention, that in the blink of an eye, everybody begins to see truth. And I know that's what your presentation is going to be about, Laura, and aligning with the truth frequency.
Michelle, let me stop the stream and start the stream again before we go into that. Okay. So give me